everyone, welcome to another round of Chitter Chatter. Today we're going to chit chat with author Neasha Mittal. Well, she's a debut author and she's written an author of Rain Takes the Rainbow by Storm. This is her first book and this is a collection of 30 poems and poems that are really hardcore topics that are for the betterment of the society, topics that we all need to think about, and she's made these. Okay, she's right here and I'm going to send her a request and let her talk about the book and everything about it. Neasha, I can see you here, but I can't send you a request. Can you send me a hi? Hi Priya Siddharth Sethi. Hi Rana Rushad. How are you? Hello everyone. Thank you for joining our Chitter Chatter and sending in the questions the moment I go live. I'm going to ask all of it and I'm going to try and also ask a lot more to her, because I really want to know what tips she has for new authors here and why did she choose such great topics. So I am sending her a request and we shall get that you're going to complete reading in one setting. But after that, you're going to sit and think a lot about it. And kudos to her to choose these topics and write them so well. Hello, Polestar India. How are you? Hi, Neasha. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you.
So first, I have to congratulate you for your book, and also kudos to you to think of these topics and use poem to bring about the thought and everything. I'm pretty spellbound because these are some things that we all think about, but it's very rarely we voice it or we actually take the efforts. But if all of us would just take little efforts, just like you did, to bring this out, maybe we would be a better society, and it's never too late. So yeah, hats off to you for this book and for choosing poems as a point of expression for it.
Thank you. Voice isn't audible. Yeah.
The first question I want to ask you is, for topics like this, why did you choose poetry to bring it out?
Why did I choose poetry? All right. So, well, first of all, thank you so much for the interview. And second, to your question, so social issues is like a really emotional and sensitive topic. So for topics that that are so strongly related to emotions, I felt that poetry would be a better way to write in it, because poetry is also emotional, right? It's a form of art. So that's why I felt that both of them they should be together.
I really want to know what triggered you to work towards uplifting marginalized segments of the society.
All right. So well, all of us, we're so privileged, and we've been growing up in such a protected environment that as a kid there were so many social issues that we had only heard about. So when I was like 12 or 13, that's 8th or ninth grade. So, and I was really sensitive from the beginning. So whenever I used to kind of witness anything negative that happened with someone, it was stick with me for a while. So essentially, my house help Didi, so she was a victim of domestic abuse. So she used to discuss this with my mom. And since I was younger, I was never really allowed to hear that conversation, because, in Indian households, adults just don't talk about this in front of kids. But, I used to go to the nearest room and I used to just listen to this conversation, and it would stick with me for a while, that this woman, she's just, going through so much. And, females, like, anyways, have a lot of problems. Like, so anyways, and then at that time, I was just a beginner writer. I was just starting to write poetry. And I was looking for an inspiration. So I was looking for a topic to write about. So that's when it just clicked me that, why not just write about this? So that's when I began writing my first one on domestic violence. So it was the first draft. It wasn't that good. But then I went on, I explored more social issues, more ways we can write poetry. And then that's when I compiled all of them, and then I eventually got it published.
And I'm glad you published this, and also you took up to these things in the form of poetry. And like you just said that, poetry is a form of expression, and what better than poetry? poetry, you somewhere get limited with words. And these are some topics that, you have so much to say about.
Yeah.
So, how was it for you to write your beginning poems?
It was definitely hard. It was definitely overwhelming, because I was a beginner. And firstly, you have to write about social issues. And I was, anyways, young. So you've never witnessed these things. You've never. And there were just really less people that I knew that have gone through this. And then writing poetry as well. And then it was the 10th grade, so boards and whatnot. So there were a lot, but still I was still determined because I wanted to write a book. I wanted to at least make sure that I at least tried to do something to improve the society.
I have a lot of support and a lot of people mentoring you, giving you suggestions, your parents supporting you to take it, a step further. What were the difficulties you faced?
The difficulties, yeah. So the difficulties were definitely writing. One of them was writing about social issues. So so there were some of them that I had already heard about, and then I went on, I researched more about them. And since I have personally never experienced them, I try to look for people who have, to try and get the most authentic opinion. So that was one. So I would look around all the internet to look for stories where people have gone through such issues. And then the second issue that I potentially faced was, so personally, I did not want to write my entire anthology on just one type of poetry. So that's when I explored different types. So there are limericks, there are elegies, there are sonnets, and blackout and shape, and so many more. So that's when that's another form, because I was anyways a beginner writer, and then writing like even like a simple poem was like a little bit hard. But then I wanted to include more varieties, so I included those different types as well.
If you're saying it was writing was hard for you, the poems were so beautifully expressed that I actually was reading them. And though you can read the book at one go, each one of them leaves an impact on you, and you want to keep reading it and want to know more about it. You really feel motivated to, think about these topics and do something. So I would not say this is your first book or, it was hard for you to write. And people, if you all haven't, please go ahead and buy this book. DM her, tell her how you like the book, and but not now, after our chitter chatter. And in case you want to know more about the book, this chitter chatter is going to be on the IGTV, so you can tag your friends, let them know about the book. Also, it's going to be on YouTube and Spotify, so you can hear it whenever you all want. Also, here we have a lot of love coming your way, and a lot of more questions coming your way. A lot of them are sending you best wishes. Tanmay wants to know that, what are the block that you faced and how did you overcome it?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question? I couldn't hear you.
Tanmay wants to know what are the writer's block that you faced while writing this book and how did you overcome it?
Okay, the writer's block. Okay, so this one is definitely a good question, firstly, because writer's block, it definitely happens a lot when you're writing prose. But poetry is, it's entirely inspired by ideas. So the writer's block was definitely stronger for this one, because for each poem, there has to be like one idea that really just like captures your mind or something. So for each one of them, I was looking for inspiration. So that's one of the reasons why I used to look at other people's stories and how they have gone through it and overcome it, or probably if they're still facing it. So that's why. So because in all these stories, I feel like there's definitely one thing that you can point out, and you can kind of make that as a base for your poem. So that's why I felt like, for to overcome that writer's block, the more you research, the more you find about, the more ideas that you come across, the more it's gonna help.
Authors here, and author and Tomar wants to know that which is your favorite poet?
That's a hard question, honestly. I don't know how I'll be able to answer this. There are just so many.
Both
Um, Sorry.
of them. You took one. So some authors that you like reading, their poetries, you can name a few of them for her.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said she wants to know your favorite poet. So if you are unable to choose one because you love quite a few of them, maybe you can name a few.
Some of the poems. So, I definitely like because I feel like it, that's really personal. It puts you in an entirely different perspective.
So, when did you write first poem, and how old were you, and what were the emotions that you went through the very first time you recited it?
So my first poem I wrote was in the sixth grade, and it was for a school project. So at that time, as kids, the image that we have of poetry was it has to be four lines, and it has to rhyme, and it has to go like a song. So in to achieve that, what generally us as kids do, we used to compromise on the quality or like the meaning to kind of try and make it rhyme. So that's when that was my one of the first poetries. I was happy that it rhymed, but it did not make much sense, if that makes sense. Yeah.
A writer faces a lot of appreciation, but also a lot of criticism. And how well do you take criticism and suggestion?
Um, say fairly well. So especially like as a beginner writer, when you're in that development stage, I feel like like listening to other people and accepting their opinions, it's like really important, because then that's when you're just kind of building that base or that foundation, and it has to be strong. So yeah, at that stage, and even like now, I would be really open to suggestions, because I'm still a beginner, honestly, and then it's just about growing and growing, and always like anybody's suggestions or opinions, they will always help you, even if they're not able to like help you in let's say improve yourself, at least they will kind of tell you that, okay, this is what you're not supposed to do, or this is what you're supposed to do. And both of them, honestly, they contribute equally to your growth.
Finally had your first book copy, the hard cover in your hand. What were the emotions? What did you feel like?
That was definitely when I was in the final stages of publishing, and I was looking for book covers and different formats. I was like, that's when I was thinking that, oh my god, this is actually going to be like a hard copy, and it can be, you can hold it, and it's gonna have my name on it, and it can go like anywhere. People can order it. It's gonna be a literal book. So it was definitely scary. It was fun, and I was really looking forward to getting it. So when you kind of get that thing in your hand, because I remember like even like throughout the so I wrote this when I was in the 10th grade, and like especially with boards and everything. So I used to remember that like whether writing at night or maybe writing in school or anywhere, and just so even like during the day, if I would see something interesting, like literally anything happening, I would make notes on it on my phone, and I'd be like, okay, I feel like this I can use somewhere in my phones. All of that. And when you see that book, it just feels like all of that effort, all of that you went through, all of the nights that you must sleep to write this, all of it, just it was worth it.
Really what it, and I would definitely recommend this book to all the people out there, and especially if you like poetry, you will definitely, I wouldn't say only enjoy it because there are some serious topics, but definitely ponder over it, and you would definitely have lots of words to tell her. So do buy your copies and also DM her and let her know how you liked it so that she can progress on her future books just the way she's done with this one and many more to come. So, do you have your copy around so that we can take a selfie moment with your book?
Um, yeah, actually, I might have one. I'm sorry, it's downstairs. I can get it right now. Can I?
Sure. Continue with our chitter chatter, and then towards the end, you can rush and get your copy.
Okay.
Okay. So, now that the book is out there, and people must be sending you pictures with the book, and it's a proud moment. Like finally, it's happened. So, when you wrote your first poem, did you ever dream of writing a book of your own?
No, honestly, no. Like once you start something and then, like being a beginner writer and then just writing a book, feel like that's on like two different ends. That's like 180 degrees apart. So, in your first poem, it's definitely really intimidating when you're thinking of, okay, so syllables, so like syllables is like a really important part in, kind of deciding the rhythm. So when you read it, that's like the rhythm. So all the words and all the details, as I was learning, and I was finally like after a while when I was able to kind of get a poem that was, let's say that okay, this is acceptable, and then now it's like okay, now I have to improve this more. Now I have to improve this more. So even like these were like 30 poems, but I feel like must have written about like um, 54, 55 poems. And then that's when I just kind of cut them down or maybe like scraped a couple of them because they just weren't that good or maybe I wasn't that satisfied with them. But yeah, so this definitely involved a lot of cutting and adding as well. But overall, it was definitely a great experience.
To check the reviews.
Well, I have checked a couple ones, so it only released like a couple of weeks ago, so there are not many reviews. But whichever ones, whenever I do get a review, it just makes me honestly.
In your preface, if you don't like to be discriminated against, then you must not discriminate. So if you could elaborate that point for your viewers here who are about to buy your copies.
Okay, so this one entire sentence, so this was entirely birthed by the concept of compassion. So, as more of like a sensitive person, I definitely feel this a lot. So, and then when I just hear the word "be compassionate," it just doesn't leave that much of a mark, or maybe it's not that impactful essentially. So that's when I felt like if I want to elaborate on this feeling, then I must not use just one word. So that's when I decided to write in a more like try to get as elaborate as I can about this. So it's just more impactful. The voice is not.
The black poetry that you start the book with. So was that a conscious decision to be, to start the book with that and incorporate that as one of your main poetry forms?
Yeah, definitely. So this was when I was finding out different types of poetry and different ways that you can write it. So that's when I found the blackout one, and I felt like it was pretty interesting. Like to me, like the first time that I saw it, because you just kind of take like a random piece of text, and then you can just black it out in any way that you want, and then you just highlight like random words out of that poem. So the highlighted words, that's the poem that combined with the image. So I feel like this is like really creative, and there's just so much that you can do with it. You can create any shape, you can highlight any words, and they can convey any meaning. So that's why I just felt like I was really impressed by this type of poetry. So it is one of the main types.
And a lot of best wishes coming your way. And Groove Queen Nami says, well done, Naisha. Hope your youth is inspired by a school or thought to reach out for any cause they feel for. Coming from in California. Best wishes are coming your way. Alka Sharma 565 is saying hello. A lot of congratulations is coming your way. And a lot of people who are also writers here are congratulating you and sending you best wishes. Marwadi underscore boutique is saying extremely good. Wow, keep the good work going. Only verified badge is saying hi and would love to buy a copy. And yes, there's lots of love. Congratulations, best wishes. Um, Lovely live Shwet. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining our live. And now we're going to play a nice, fun section in our chitter chatter. So I'm going to take the name of the titles that you've written of your poem and the first word that comes to your mind immediately.
Okay.
First, the main title of your book, Rain Takes the Rainbow by Storm.
Okay. It's so the meaning of like this title is essentially something takes something by storm, that so that's a phrase, and that it means that so like metaphorically it means that something ruined something. So the rain takes the rainbow by storm. So the rain is symbolic of all the societal constraints and all the shackles and everything. And the rainbow, that's symbolic of people's freedom. So rain takes the rainbow by storm essentially means that, okay, so all those shackles and constraints, they ruin people's freedom. I'm sorry.
Goat head.
Oh, the goat's head. So the goat's head is about how people they so how they murder animals to kind of give it as a gift to God. So while this is a religious topic and some people might feel strongly, and it's their personal belief that they can sacrifice animals to God just to impress him. But in one, that's one perspective. But from another perspective, it is wrong to kind of just kill an animal to impress God. So yeah, that's what it's about.
Loud noises.
Loud noises. It's about pop and all the struggles younger kids face because of poverty and how it affects their future. Pink tax. Pink uh, is about the financial dependence of women, and how pink tax kind of encourages it.
Vendors at Chandni Chowk.
When is at Chandni? So this one was more personal experience based, and this is about the class disparities that you faced. Because in Chandni Chowk you can find all types of crowd, whether it's more towards the poor sections or the richer sections, and so that's where like the class disparity, it's a lot, you can feel it there. So this is about that. Sorry.
Rule book.
The rule book. So yeah, practically it's an entire society, but over here it's more for the class disparity again.
And lastly, Chitter Chatter with Shweta Roira.
Okay, a great experience. My first experience, but yeah, great. And thank you so much for being so cooperative and just so warm with your approach, and just so, yeah, I'm really thankful. Thank you.
That was debut live on Chitter Chatter with Shweta Roira, and we are glad that we could talk about the book. People, I'm going to put up the review very soon. So please do read the review, buy your copies, and you can DM me, you can DM her. And in the meantime, I'm going to read the comments, and you can quickly go and get your copy so that we can click a selfie before we end our Chitter Chatter.
So I'll just get that.
Gosh, Tanmoy says, I pray to God for you every day. You stay healthy, stay well, spend your whole life smiling and happy. All your hopes are fulfilled. That is what I want. That's such a sweet wish. Gosh, Tanmoy. Nasir 363615. Hello, I'm Aditya. Hi, Join. Mr. Sahil. Hello. Ahan Sheikh. Hey. Author M. Thomas says, you intelligent ladies. Hey, you intelligent lady too. I have loved your book when you were in How to Rise and Shine, one of the good books that I've read lately. Yes, that's City. Thank you for the lovely best that you sent. Durga Das, we are how are you doing? How's the book going? Christy, G. Mayor, I'm not taking you. Thank you for the light. And here she is. So let's pick up some more. But some selfie more. Thank you, Naisha.
Um, voice is breaking.
I said thank you for your lovely time for this chitter chatter. Thank you for this lovely book which has inspired all of us. So keep the poems flowing and keep the book going.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.